Hello everyone, Burb here. You all know the drill. Registration day is coming up. I don't have my UMA set. I'm running a bit light on ideas, so I'm going to release this one day early, so please enjoy. This is the Procrastinator's Guide to LIBRA Cup for those who haven't even started building for the CM or are looking for one or two more options to add to their roster in order to survive Champions Meeting 18. The point of this is to get you to a level where you can go and build UMAs very quickly and hopefully slip into a finals and give yourself a shot at the championship. In this format, I do two things. First of all, I do a speed run of the overview video with some additional additions from the various different role guides. I just find it's really fun for me to go and compress down my 2 to 2.5 hours worth of guides into about 5 minutes or so. It's just a fun little challenge that I personally do. After that, I will be suggesting a couple of UMAs in each of the different roles that I find to be rather quick to build. Now, to note, for the front runner and end closer suggestion, I will be suggesting, I believe, one of each, and they won't be the quickest to build no matter what you do because those roles are very complicated and have a lot of moving parts that you need to go and grab. But I would rather go and suggest an UMA that will actually pay you dividends for that level of effort. So I find that it's better for me to suggest the ones that I actually did. So with that out of the way, do note that I won't be able to tell you why things work in this video. There isn't as much learning. That is the downside to this format. So the full guides are available. I do believe that if you go and watch some full guides over the course of time, you will learn how to evaluate skills and such. So this is more of just me telling you what I believe works and the stuff that has been successful for me in testing. So with that out of the way, I'm going to grab a drink of water and then we will begin the overview speed run. All right, we ready? Let's begin. This is the Hanshin Turf 1600 meter mile course. Our greens are right-handed, fall runner, firm conditions, Hanshin race course, standard distance, and cloudy days. This is a pretty typical mile racetrack where our corners will be purely mid-race and our straights will be either our early race or on the final straight for our late race. Do know that there is a downhill that goes and stretches over the spurt, which means that straight descent will be an option for pace chasers, along with Nishino Flower unique because this is final corner second half or later. So Taiki Shuttle will just simply end too early as an inherit, and straightaway accelerations of the like are going to be slightly late, which means you can use them as a backup accel. But if you do and hit your corner accelerations, which is a position in which you're winning, you're not going to get too much value from them. So take those as only backup accels and don't go and grab too many of those. Your primary acceleration should be your corner accelerations like angling and scheming. Let's pump some iron and the gold and white skills available on various different cards. Do note in the late race there is a massive uphill which gives power a little bit more value than normal, and of course wit is always good on these particular tracks. Other than that, it's a pretty standard mile course that pretty much any of the four roles can win because it's very balanced, and each one of the four roles has a various thing that they are very good at doing that we will talk about. For stat suggestions, because this is Hanshin and this is a spurt track and not a survival track, if you spurt, you will survive. And my personal suggestion is to try to aim for 600. If you get a little bit lower than that, it's fine. You are going and you are gambling on either rushing or any debuffs or any standard stuff that doesn't really go like a bad downhill. So 600 for Stam Guts is my personal suggestion, with a emphasis of balancing your power and wit and trying to get your speed as high as possible. Power will help you on that massive uphill in the late race, and wit will go and help you, of course, maintain your position in the mid race. Do note that a green skill for stamina is worth more than a white recovery on this track due to its distance. Each of the four different roles have a very different thing they're good at. For front runners, they are mainly going and trying for angling and scheming. They are combining that with final push and other gambling based accelerations. You need something more than the 0.2. The reason why they're strong is that they have access to two very strong speed cards in Marzensky Speed and Taiki Shuttle Speed that give them Top Runner and Mile Maven, which goes and gives them an incredibly large early race advantage. You do need some level of late race. Usually Fuji Kaseki is what people are leaning on, but any of the first place accelerations generally will work, except for the ones I'll talk about later. For pace chasers, they have Nishino Flower as their 0.2, and they usually combine that with head-on and straight descent or one or two of the gold variants of both of those. They want some late race in Oguri Cap, and their strength is the fact that the scenario card is also a pace chaser card in Agnes Tachyon Speed that gives them unstoppable for the mid race, and they still have access to Taiki Shuttle, which gives them 2-mile maven for some more mid-race and early race to catch up with those front runners. For late surgers, there's a little bit more tough because their stuff is really coming from power cards and from wit cards that most people don't have. But if you're running a late surger, you can just use a bunch of white skills like Slick Surge, Leap Forward, and even Nimble Navigator as a secondary. Don't use that as a primary. Your primary focus should be running inherits that give you late race, like Special Week or Oguri Cap, of course. You can go and use an overshoot accel like Nishino Flower, and then if you wish, you can run a power card to get the gold version of Leap Forward, which is Lightning Surge, to combo off with your Slick Surge or with your full on your left you're getting from Nice Nature Wit. They have the most number of accelerations of any of the 4 classes, and that really is their strength over the rest of it. End closes are a little bit tough to build. Their advantage is that they have mid-race on a Wit card for a backliner, which is rare at this current moment. They do the same game plan as late surgers have, except they go and swap out Nice Nature of the additional acceleration with Mr. CB, which is a generally stronger wit card slightly, but more importantly has Daring Strike as their additional gold, which is basically 1.2 Professor of Curvatures. It's really, really powerful. They can still go, and they heavily rely on either a bunch of whites or on getting Lightning Surge on the Power Ruby card. Christmas Oguri this is a Christmas Oguri map. It is not as tough as previous maps because it's very difficult to build her. She has to be an end closer. Oguri Cap is end closer D, but she does get after school stroll positioning. Now 777 is too early, and you need 2 guaranteed mid-race recoveries. You can take 777 as that with after school stroll as your trigger, and 74% of the time you will get a 4-length advantage, and you can go and combine this with the other accelerations that everyone else has access to. Do note that final corner accels will not work. They will proc too early. You can do some shenanigans with Red Maru, 6th and the 5th, all that. Taiki Shuttle as an inherit will end early. 400 meter velocity is a little bit tough because you need like 1.2 accel in order to actually get value from the inherits of stuff like Bark Roll of Blessings, and corner specified late race velocity skills like Rudolph Autumn unfortunately are completely eaten by the acceleration zone. Do note Gold Chip still has a gun. You generally want to do speed debuffs if you're doing debuffers, because again, stam debuffs are bad because Murmur only has an effect 34% of the time when 564, because once we go and spurt, we will go and survive this track. For deck building, you have a utility card slot, whether people say it or not. You can just go and add a 3rd speed card, and that's perfectly fine. It'll give you consistency. But for some backline rolls, you may go and want to run Flash Forward for Daichi Ruby. If you're a Pace Chaser, you might want to try and high roll for neck and neck with the Daiwa Power card. And if you're a front runner, you most likely are running an additional Wit card in order to supplement the fact that Mahona Bourbon doesn't have very good Wit output, and the fact you really, really, really like Wit as a front runner. So there's plenty of different reasons to run utility cards, or you can just go and slot in your best speed card that you have available. For strengths, I do think that it's a rather balanced CM. However, Christmas Oguri and Saiyan Sky are probably slightly above the pack, followed by Pace Chasers, front runners, late surgers, and end closers. So I think it's rather balanced. I don't think the margin is too much outside of perfectly built Christmas Oguris, but we are not going to be seeing too many of those. As for ease of building, it's kind of flip-flopped. Pace Chasers, late surgers are the 2 easiest, followed by end closers. Christmas Oguri and of course front runners are the hardest to build still, because you just need so many skills. That was, 6 minutes or so? I went over again, as per usual, but now I'm going to go and suggest a few quick build characters. Like I said, for fronts and ends, the suggestion's not going to be as quick as possible because, it's difficult. But Saiyan Sky is just simply really, really powerful. 20% wit means you can drop a wit card, not go down to 1. It means that you are running Mahona Bourbon with a wit card, and you're supplementing your 20% wit for the fact that you don't need to run a 3rd wit card as a front runner, and you can still hit 1200 plus wit easy. Angling and scheming is a 0.4, and when there is when front runners are struggling and having to gamble with a secondary acceleration, having a 0.4 in kit means that you have one directive, which is just go and shove mid-race on this character. You have an additional mid-race skill because everyone else is trying to go and add secondary accelerations like unrestrained and such with it. So Escape Artisan kit is kind of your thing above the rest because you have access to the other 2 mile/front runner based mid-race skills, and Tail Held High, Front Runner Savvy, and kit's going to help you out. The 10% stamina bonus might help you a tiny bit, but honestly, on front runners, you kind of just run as many stamp sparks as possible and run like 3 wit, 2 speed, or 3 speed, 2 wit. For Pace Chasers, Mile D, Agnes Tachyon, you should be having enough Mile Sparks to get that to A, but the reason why I placed this character as Pace Chaser over a bunch of other ones is, one, the 20% speed. She is the free-to-play option for the Pace Chasers. We will get to the normal one later, but Uma squared means that if you're in 3rd or 4th, you can basically go and ignore your stamina. You can go all the way down to like 400, which the game should pretty much go and give you. And the thing is with this unique is that if you're not in 3rd or 4th as a Pace Chaser, you're pretty much not winning anyway, so if you're not touching that on the final corner at all, I don't think you have much to worry about. So Uma Squared can be used as a free gold recovery with the chance of speed carryover, but honestly will most likely just be additional mid-race to try to maintain that 3rd position. That 20% speed is going to go very far, and there's honestly not that many Pace Chasers that give you too many skills anyway, so a lot of the bearing is going to be on your parents and cards. If you are over and trying to go and you have access to the characters, Taiki Shuttle Camping is ridiculous. 30% power bonus means you just run speed wit and you call it a day, because you also have neck and neck, so there's no reason to really run Daiwa power. You have neck and neck, you have Mile Maven, 2 skills that are golds. You go and you put other ones. You even run Kittison with Professor of Curvature and all that, and she has so many skills available to her. Joyful Voyage is basically Triumph and Pulse with additional 0.05 in any position that you're actually winning, because you're close to the lead, and you probably just run, like I said, 3-2, call it a day. Like I said, the no speed bonus is not a problem when that's the only thing that you really have to carry about. For late surgers, Measure Dober, if you have access to characters, Measure Dober, Hat Dober, or Camping Dober, whatever you want to call it, is very easy and very powerful, because wherever this wonder leads is a guaranteed speed carryover if it does proc. And the proc condition is 4th through 7th, so I do hope that you're somewhere around those positions. If you want to standard roll, you just add Slick Surge, you just add Leap Forward, one or the other, or both with your Dauntless, which is just another gambling acceleration with upside with the buffs. It's really not even that bad, to be honest, and just so many skills for this mile track with Unyielding Spirit, Full Throttle, Fall Runner, and Downhill Speedster. And even updrafters if you need some additional acceleration. Otherwise, if you're trying to high roll, you just go and add the Daichi Ruby card, and pretty much like Dauntless plus that's going to be a gamble with the Slick Surge or an updrafters, one or the other of those. That's plenty of acceleration with your actual speed carryover skill. For some free-to-play options, late surges probably are the easiest to build for free-to-plays, just because a lot of the stuff is built into kits, but Vodka is a very good option because particularly of the 20% power, 10% speed spread, and that means that you don't really have to worry about power too much. You do have Furious Feet in kit, which if you don't want to run the Daichi Ruby card, you can combine that with on your left as your borrow for Nice Nature, or if you don't have either, you get the whites of both and Furious Feet plus Nimble Navigator. A bunch of the other secondary accelerations will go and make it a lot easier on you. If you do not hit your stamina at all, you still have the option of grabbing Breath of Fresh Air or straightaway recovery if you absolutely have to. So a lot of skills Vodka gives you. Cut and Drive is basically Triumph and Pulse with some additional steps. It's really not too far behind, especially on these shorter tracks that actually, like, there's gonna be a bunch of clumping towards the front anyways. Probably one of the more powerful ones is Grass Wonder. If you're not building her as a Dominator, which I don't think you should because she is simply ridiculous as an ace in my opinion, she has On Your Left in kit, which is really good. If you're high rolling and you want to high roll with Ruby, you can borrow Ruby and grab your speed and wit cards that you have. You don't need Nice Nature wit, so you can run like a Fine Motion or something if you own it even. And On Your Left in kit plus Position Pilfer with a skill that most likely will slightly delay proc on that final straight, which means you get value from it, and you have 20% speed bonus and 10% power bonus. I built one of these and it worked, and it didn't even have Mile S. So Grass Wonder, you know, I mean, low sample size for me, but like, it's good. She's good, man. She's really good, and it's really easy to build for newer players, of course. For end closers, I'm going to suggest Gold Chip. She never will leave. Yes, 20% stamina bonus is a little tough, but as an end closer, because you don't really have too many options for acceleration, my primary suggestion is if you want to build an end closer, you either build them late surger, or you go and you run the Daichi Ruby card as a borrow or as a one that you have, because that's really how they're going to go in high rolls, that they're faster than everyone. They turn any 0.2 into a 0.7, or was it 0.6, and that's enough acceleration when it decides to go in proc, which is, I think, is rather consistent even for end closers. And Gold Chip has the thing where Anchors Away is just simply that good of a mid-race skill. It's basically a daring strike. So if you had the choice, Your high roll option is, of course, Daichi Ruby, and your standard option is still Mr. CB for your borrow. But do note that both of those only really need one LB to kind of exist. So Uma standing kit's going to help you in the mid race as well. Gold chip's always just going to be powerful, man, especially if you're behind the curve and you don't have access to every single gold skill in the game, because this unique is just really that powerful. If you are going and spending a bit more time, you have access to more characters. This character is not necessarily easy to build, but I just want to go and highlight the amount of power she has. Narita Taishin is just ridiculous. Her unique, which is Nemesis, is basically can combo with stuff like Shadow Break, and that makes it so it's very likely to speed carry over. Now, there's a side effect that is sometimes wide swings when you do that, but either way, even with 10% speed bonus, she's still fine to build. It does require a bit more runs than normal, and you can really high roll with this character. And if you get a good one of these, she is probably top 2 end closers in the game, only behind Christmas Ogre, because of Christmas Ogre's ridiculous 4.5 length advantage. And I think that's all the characters that I have. It is, like I said, your late setters is going to be probably the easiest, and your pace chasers. If you're really wanting the lowest effort possible, pick the one of those that you have more cards available for and go from there. Look for characters that have speed bonus and power bonus to help you out. If you don't have your stam sparks, look for characters that have stam bonus and run a power card. Really that simple. So those are my suggestions for this. Like I said, this was a rather quick video. So I hope all this goes and makes it so that you are able to go and compete in this upcoming CM. I will be probably streaming here later tonight because I still need to make my Umas. So with that out of the way, take care everyone. Good luck. Burb out.